Bernadine and Conrad Baring have grown a lot of gardeners since they opened Barton Springs Nursery in 1986. I'm one of them. They've shown us how to create beautiful gardens that don't need lots of water or pampering. When native plants were hard to source, they propagated them. With fun, passion, dedication, and long, hard hours, they've changed our philosophical landscape. Now, let's hear their story. It is really great to see you both, but I don't think I've ever seen you sitting in my life.
Well, we're getting older.
So, your motto is grow plants in Travis County for Travis County. What was that important to you?
Well, people move here from all over the country and then they want to bring their landscape to Austin. And it doesn't really work that way. And we'll try to convert them to grow what works here. People from Houston want to plant azaleas and, people from California, I think we're in LA. And so we have to be ready for drought and all the harsh conditions we have. It's really hard gardening in Texas between the deer and the weather. And it's a challenge.
We always had a goal of just making our customers successful gardeners. And so whether they were spending $5 or $100 on something, it needed to be successful. And we felt like if we did that, then they would be back.
So, how did you get started with the nursery? I mean, what kind of, just you wake up one morning and say, okay, let's start a nursery?
I've been in the building business and a remodeler for years in Clarksville and all. And then, I hated seeing working on a lot where we'd go clear everything out. And I was like, this is really, I don't want this to be my legacy, just destroying nature. And so just watching the whole miracle of plants growing was a lot of fun. But anyway, basically the boom went bust in '85 and remodelers. I had friends go into New York for work and I'm like, I'm not leaving Austin. And my brother-in-law, Mike Shoup, owns the Antique Rose Emporium. He had containerized plants before he had the Emporium. And he was friends with Lynn Lowry and they would go collecting. And so he was a pioneer of native plants, but Austin was his best market, he told me. And I had thought, well, let's just open a native plant nursery. That sounds logical. And so that was that. I'd never worked at a nursery, but I've always loved plants. We used to, Bernadine was a drag vendor and down in the 70s, and she made clothes and sold. And I didn't know her at the time, but I would go on surf trips in Mexico and you could get plant permits back there. And I would bring bromeliads. This guy had a coffee plantation and he hated them. They were getting his plants. So we'd haul them back and I'd put them on driftwood and sell them on the drag. And so, I was making almost on a Saturday what I could make on a week's pay just working construction. So it was time to just jump in. And Bernadine is really, we wouldn't be here without her. She's the brains. I mean, really, when she stepped in, I was so behind on food taxes, all this stuff. I'm like, I can't read this stuff. I can't do it. And we would have not succeeded without her, I can tell you, because I'm not the business of mind. And so we're a team. And so we needed each other.
The first nursery, I remember going there. I bought my first native Pavonia, Lasiopella, there when nobody else had that. It was a tiny place over near where Chewy's
right
is.
Next door to Chewy's there. Yeah, we had a month-to-month lease for 6 years. And that was pretty stressful because we could have been kicked in. Anybody who wanted to pay $1 more, they were going to boot us out of there. So we found that property on Bee Caves, and we went to like 3 bankers, and only one of them had faith in us to get an SBA loan. And Bernadine put this packet together that made us succeed and get the loan. And it would have never happened with me, I can tell you that. So it's so anyway, that was the beginning. And then we've got to make ends meet, but it worked out. And then too, before we were even open, customers had heard we had moved over there and that we had really run out of money. I was down to like 2 people they said, well, pay me when you can. But customers came in and it was just so encouraging. And then we'd start making sales and we weren't even open.
Yeah, Conrad would be over there working, and we'd have some of our customers come over and say, I want to give you money. What can I buy? And they would walk around and find some pot and plant it over here. Here, I'll buy this.
Yeah, it was really,
It was really awesome,
it was.
to have that kind of support.
That property was pretty rustic. You said it was an old ranch before. So I guess, Conrad, this is where all those construction skills came in, that
Right,
you were
yeah.
able to create this beautiful place.
Thank you. Yeah, it had a nice setting. It was Griffin's Western Wear. Back in the 70s, I remember seeing them on TV advertising. There was before Shepler's or all these other people, they were selling cowboy boots. I still have a shirt of theirs because I don't throw anything away, but and a cowboy shirt. But yeah, so we found all these relics when we were building the place, just horseshoes and everything.
So it was a stable, a riding stable.
And then along the way, you had children. I remember going to the first location, Sturzig, going up one day, and there was a pink balloon. It's a girl. And I said, oh, wow. What was it like having you brought the kids to work day? They were part of this. It was a whole family operation.
You probably need to ask them that. They liked the times when they could sell their Girl Scout cookies there at the store, or, have their friends. Conrad would recruit them to plant palm trees and, stuff
Whatever.
like that.
Yeah. Free labor.
They like to bring their classrooms over in elementary school, for field trips. And they like that part of it. Running through the sprinklers.
Well, it's a good place to go. You've made it a destination, and you've had a lot of events, and you've made it someplace a family can go hang out.
When I was in first grade, I wanted to be a zookeeper forever. And then basically I'm a plant zookeeper. It worked out. That was my, I mean, really, it's just, they don't talk back.
They don't talk back. Most of them don't bite. Well, I mean, I guess some of them do. Those succulents do.
Right.
But then another thing that really makes you guys stand out from the crowd is that you started propagating plants. And many of them, like I said before, the native plants that we couldn't get. This is even before the Wildflower Center plant sales. And Native Plant Society was getting started, chapters were getting started, but still it was hard to find native plants. And so why did you take on that mission yourself?
Well, I was just early on it. It was luck. But, just we're seeing a lot of water restrictions and stuff, and it just makes sense. And then deer, it's really a challenge. But really, the guy that gets the most credit for really producing tons of native plants is Bill Carson with Native Texas Nursery. He's still super big and sells to all the people. And he tells me, reminds me that I was his first customer. And when he first got going, we're just a small time grower.
But Conrad also likes to grow. He just likes to grow. In fact, I think if there's the part of the nursery that he loves best, it's the growing, and that's been true from the beginning, that he had his greenhouse and was growing just every little thing that he could. He goes out into the woods and collects seed and takes cuttings and brings them back and sticks them in the dirt, and miraculously things grow. At one point, he had some of the professors from Texas A&M came out to see some of his techniques for some of the things that he was growing. And that was really inspiring because he just has a green thumb.
Yeah, it's fun just to go out and in the fall and just take a field trip and just go, let's go see what we can find, and you'll go, just when things are dry and it's the time to collect seeds, just take a trip, toward, out in the hill country and find plants. But Turk's Cap was the first thing I rooted. That I was just like, that's so easy. You can just get sticks and put it in the dirt and just give it some shade and give it a little water and then they're making roots. So,
My first Turk's cap came from a colleague at the station, Dan Martos. But then I bought one from you guys, and now I have a gazillion of them. And I have them all along my patio. And so in the summer, I can just sit outside and watch the hummingbirds come straight to them. And then I've got them all over the yard. They seed like crazy. I guess the raccoons, would that be?
right, they do. Yeah, the birds spread them.
That's fine by me.
There has been a real resurgence of people wanting to garden for the bees and for the butterflies. The whole thing with the monarch butterflies and the fact that they're declining in numbers have really come to the attention of so many people, and they do come in to the garden center looking for those plants. They specifically ask, I need to feed my bees. What do I need for that? Or I need things for the monarch butterfly.
Hummingbirds and butterflies, everyone's, wants more and more of those in their yard. So that's always been popular, but more than ever now. Tropical plants have taken off like I have never seen. I mean, I would never believed it, but it's because we have a lot of indoor gardeners now. But it's really cool that they're getting into seeing things grow, and they want to purify their air and have green space.
Yeah, well, not everyone has a yard. Well, I got started out with houseplants. I mean, that's the way a lot of people get started.
Well, food products, everybody, it's like the Victory Garden, with whenever we've had recessions and when the pandemic, everybody's migrated, I mean, they want native plants too, but, a lot of people are buying food product plants just to grow their own.
There's just a reverence for the earth that gardeners have, that they learn the power of nature.
We all think that, gardening and running a nursery is just so much fun. And it is. You guys made it fun. But it also is a whole lot of work. What is maybe some of your favorite disaster memories?
Well, I thought we were going out of business. I don't know if you remember back in, was it 89? We had
89.
like a week below freezing. And we were in our house in Clarksville, and the roads were closed, or well, you didn't dare get out. And so I walked from Clarksville to the nursery. I have to go check. I have to go fight back. And I was just getting bags of mulch and putting them around plants. And that was really stressful, thinking we're going out of business. But it turned out that it was one of the best years because a lot of people had lost plants. So if we could find anything to sell, it was no problem. But I remember like red yuccas in 1 gallon pots. They were frozen solid. And I was like, oh, these are all going to be dead. And so those things thawed out. There wasn't even a mark on their leaves. They were so dang tough.
So this year you decided to pass the baton along and sell the nursery. Tell me about that.
Well, we're not going to live forever. And I wish I was, but we need to enjoy life. And both girls, they both work there and they have had the experience, but it has to be in your heart to want to work that hard. And, it's not for everybody. My dad wanted me to be a realtor, but I couldn't sit in an office. So, you have to go with your heart and what makes you happy, no matter what it is. We had to figure out an exit plan without rocking the boat. And so, I mean, if we were to go, hire some broker and then he moved some guy from Dallas down here, I mean, the whole theme could have been destroyed. And so probably would have been. So, Willie, who's worked there for 6 years as our manager, he's like doing a great job. And I mean, that was his dream, to own a nursery. And so it's just like, we don't have to go anywhere. It's here. And we didn't lose any staff. And so everybody wins. And and he's really thrilled and he's doing a great job. So, and
he got a partner from Amy Hovis from Eden Garden Design. And so the two of them together are,
it's a team. It's like Bernadine and I, because I told Willie when he first, we approached him and all, I said, but you can't do it by yourself. They're doing great.
But you are still working and having fun because you've got a great operation of your own, continuing to grow those plants. Tell us about that.
Well, I've been hiding over on the east side for like the last 17 years or something like that. So we put in 18 and a half acres over there on 973. and we bought, and so because I needed more room, I didn't have enough room in town, so we put up like 15 greenhouses, most of them coal frames. Only 3 of them are heated, and so we've been growing a lot of stock over there at the nursery, and it was called Barton Springs Nursery Wholesale. So we sold the name and all, and so the containerized plants we've passed the baton to Willie, and those are all his. But in the field, I have Yucca rostratas and Washingtonia foliferas, the California fan palms. That's what started it all. I collected some seeds down in Fort Stockton, a very cold hardy variety of palm, Washingtonia folifera. Anyway, and so I planted them all, and I had like 1,000. I'm like, what am I doing? And so it's like, and so then I decided we have to buy some property and plant these things. And sure enough, we put them all in, and they don't need any water, once you get them established. So everything's all on a dry scape. On the rostratas, I just plant a little plug and water it in, at the right time of year in the fall. And then that's it. It never gets watered again. And in 4 years, it's about a 4-foot plant. And so we've got sold out like 3,500 of them, and we've been replanting. That's what I've been doing, and it's just a continuous process. You just have to plant every year and try to plant what you sell. But so it's going to be called Bearing Growers at 973 Farm. That's what it's called. But anyway, we're a lot less staff, just 3 guys, and so I can get dirty and go out there and dig around and wear myself out, and it's a blast.
Bernadine's told me in the past, you all have worked with 2 guys primarily, but a lot of other people to help propagation. I think you wanted to give them a shout out.
Yeah, well, where do you start? Nick and Ramilo have been there forever. I mean, more than 20 years. Ramilo, we opened in 91 on Bee Caves Road, and he's been there ever since and there today. And I mean, he touches every 4-inch plant that comes out of the back. I mean, he's back there. He's just always busy dividing things and planting seed plugs or plugs we might buy in. But he is just amazing. He loves what he does. And his daughter works there, and he's had a lot of his kids work there. And she's our propagator now. And she's like the best one we've ever had. She can sit in the red barn and listen to her radio, and we just bring a pile of cuttings, and she's just chopping them all up. And because you have to cut plants back, so it's just like, okay, let's multiply it times 100, and we got free plants.
That's even better. That it's a family operation with extended family in all corners of the business. You have helped so many people launch their careers in the green industry. Horticulturists, designers, propagators, you name it. And they all have a warm place in their hearts for you. Anyway, I was only able to reach out to a few of them quickly. I'm going to get in touch with more, and I'm going to add these more comments to the blog. I'm just going to read a couple abbreviated for this conversation from some people you've worked with. One is from Andrea de Longamaya, now Director of Horticulture at the Wildflower Center, who said, Conrad and Bernadine were very supportive of us building our knowledge base. Their on-site propagation and focus on selling native plants drew me to their nursery in particular. I learned various propagation techniques which allowed us to grow different things that wholesalers weren't offering, including many native species we collected. I even learned how to use a nail gun when they were remodeling the old house that is now their garden shop. You never know. It's going to come in handy. Wildflower Center, they need a nail gun. She knows what to do. I remember being so impressed with Conrad's ability to identify leafless trees in winter. I wanted to learn everything he knew about plants. I truly valued the education I got from working with the Bearings at BSN. They really launched my horticultural career, and reminiscing has been a good reminder of how fundamentally influential that experience was for me. And then from May Sanchez, who was also, at the nursery for many years and a guest on CTG many times, as has Andrea. They created an environment for lasting friendships to form. They gave people opportunities to learn and launch their own careers in the green industry. They showed that a husband and wife can run a successful business together and have no one imprisoned for murder yet. And if you were super lucky and willing to jump in freezing water at 7 a.m., they taught you how to ski. I couldn't imagine my life without them. And then from Robert Leeper, we featured some of his designs on CTG, of course. Conrad, and these are all abbreviated. They all wrote a lot more than this. Conrad and Bernardine gave me one of my first jobs in the Austin area and was a great education to what really grows here in Austin, and more importantly, a passion for using native plants. They were at the forefront of a movement to embrace and promote the use of regional native plants. That early influence still continues in my landscape designs today. Beyond all the wonderful knowledge I've gained, I so enjoy going to Barton Springs Nursery and seeing them and all the many wonderful people who have worked there, past and present. When I'm there, I feel like I'm part of a community, and that's a wonderful feeling. I'm so grateful to Conrad and Bernardine and all the people there for building that community we belong to. I'm just as happy to walk in there today as is on the first day on the job. That says a lot about the business they have built. And then from Charlotte Boyle, who's been a team member for years now. I met her first at UT because she would come over and watch CTG sometimes. And then when I come to the nursery on Saturday, she'd be there. And one thing I've got to say about everyone at the nursery, they all know what they're doing. And so you go in, if you're not sure how to grow something, not sure what to do with it, not sure what to put it with, someone's going to help you. And I think that's real important. It's not just this vast impersonal place where you go and pick out this plant and just hope for the best. Anyway, Charlotte's always been very passionate, as has everyone, to help. And so she said, in the early days, as the business was growing, Bernardine told me they did not want to get too big and lose the ability to provide the best customer service. And you have that. I feel BSN introduced the idea of xeric to regular gardeners with Conrad's priority on native and well-adapted plants. I remember one season, many years ago, he grew large numbers of 4-nerve daisy, and that was before it was widely available. Like the Pavonia, Conrad and Bernardine have done an amazing job of starting and growing a wonderful business, and I'm happy to have been a part of it.
Very sweet.
Well, that's very nice. Thank you. Thank them all. And Colleen Bell, too, I have to mention her. She was there for so many years, I don't know, maybe 15 years. And May for I think 15 years, too. So we've really been lucky to not be having to train new people all the time. And they all love just being there. So, yeah, it's a family. We've had a lot of fun together.
We had Mark Word was there for a long time, too. And
yeah,
Scott Thurman. Oh, my gosh. We just have had wonderful people yeah,
I'm sorry. And then too, Scott Ogden is he is the godfather of everything.
So awesome.
He knows soils and plants, and that's another thing. It's like, what is this plant? And I'm like, all right, let's put that aside. When Scott comes in, he'll tell us what the heck it is.
And Patrick Kerwin, I have my favorite Abulon is the one called Patrick's Abulon.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Why has this been such a rewarding part of your lives?
Conrad hasn't worked a day in his life.
True. No, it's been a lot of fun, and it's dealing with the weather constantly in Texas. And then you've got spring, it gets busy, then it gets hot, and then you have to get ready for that, water and everything, and then here comes fall. You've got to winterize. It's it's constant, but yeah, you have to love what you're doing, and then success follows. So,
we've met so many great people, and we've had so much fun with our staff. We subject our staff to the things that we want to do that we think would be fun, and fortunately they're willing to come along with us and do some of these crazy things that we've done in the past, and we'll probably miss that. Conrad made them dress up like a caterpillar for the Capital 10,000.
We did that like 3 times. That was part of your initiation. You're going to have to run a caterpillar. And that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with that.
And the dressing up, and, I don't know. We've just had a lot of fun times.
Cut loose. Yeah. There's a lot of fun people in Austin. And then 2 musicians. We have a musician's discount. And so, Marsh Ball, Chris Layton, you know, Asleep at the Wheel,
Jimmy Vaughn.
Jimmy Vaughn. I mean, I've got to meet so many people that I never would have been able to meet, and
Mhm.
you know, and they're just real people too. And it is just, you're just in awe that wow, they're here, you know, and
Lady Bird had shopped with us, and Laura Bush shopped with us, and Laura Bush would come in with her girlfriends in their flip flops and their Bermuda shorts, and they'd walk through the nursery, and then later she's coming in with her Secret Service agents, you know. But it's just
For the-
very.
Oh,
It seems like it's always an exciting time, and all the movie stars, Matthew McConaughey come in, and
you know, Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock,
They'd
I
be
mean-
like, oh, Matthew's here, you know. Anyway, the girls.
the girls, oh look who's here, Matthew.
Anyway.
And so you know, we've just gotten to engage with so many people.
Yeah, it's
just
been a blessing, I tell you.
fun times.
Yeah, that's not what I miss. I still want to. I'll be up at the nursery, and because I like to go see my customers and just see, because there's so many regulars that are just there constantly, and it's so nice to see them, and we have a lot of friendships that I still want to get up there and check them out.
well, I look forward to seeing you both there, and I thank you both for all that you've done, all that you've taught me, all that you've done for the community, and your support for Central Texas Gardener for over all these years. So, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Linda. You guys are an inspiration. I mean, where would gardening be in Central Texas without y'all?